What's up everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today and for the next month, I am here in Europe, right now in Italy for a few more weeks and heading to Greece and then back to Rome before heading back to California. I'm here visiting my family. My mom's family is from Rome. I'm also here doing some client work and then I'll be in Greece doing some client work before returning here to see my family once more and then heading home. And while here, I've got several exciting videos planned, and this first one I'm super stoked on because it represents a project I've been working on for several months. Many of you watching right now may be familiar with my company, Very Good Presets. You can watch a video right above about the launch of a Portra 400 preset that has had tremendous feedback, and I really appreciate all the kind, encouraging words and all of your posts and how many times you've shared it and how many times you put it on your photos. It means everything to me, so thank you for that. Now, this is not my first time in Italy, not my first time in Europe. In fact, I lived in Europe many years ago. It's also not my first time being just around the Mediterranean, which has a distinct and unique culture and colors, whether you are in Italy or Greece or Spain or Israel. It doesn't really matter because it all kind of has a very similar tone to it. And knowing that this trip was coming up for the past 6 months, I wanted to develop a look for the photos I took here and that would be good for my clients as well as good for me that represented what I thought would be great Mediterranean conditions. A lot of times here it is very bright, the lighting can be harsh, the shadows and lines can be very hard. And that's not just true of the Mediterranean, that's true in California as well, and it can be anywhere really. So it was very important to me to develop a look that felt good for the Mediterranean kind of vibe for here in Italy, for what I'm doing in Greece. But here's the exciting part, I want to share it with you as well. And that's why today I am launching a brand new preset pack called Jupiter. Jupiter, of course, is a Roman god, and I developed 2 types of presets based upon the 2 personalities of Jupiter, which you can Google and read all about. The first one is a color preset called Jupiter RGB. This preset makes very pastel colors. It has a timeless, everyday kind of look to it that works really well in harsh lighting, so you can go out and shoot in the middle of the day and hopefully get some pleasing looks for your photos. The other is called Jupiter Mono, which is a black and white look. Jupiter Mono is high contrast, which wouldn't always feel like it would work when you have harsh lighting and intense light, but you know what, if that's what you got, I developed Jupiter Mono to go with that. And so you can shoot it in harsh lighting, you can shoot it in soft lighting. Both of these presets have been beta tested by this community, which has been really awesome. And if you go visit verygoodpresets.com, at the link below, you can see some of their work as well. Super excited about. But for today, I want to show you what the Jupiter pack looks like, what it feels like, and how it functions. So I'm going to go for a little walk between the shoot I just completed and the metro station, and along the way, I'm going to do some street photography. Right now, it is 9:30 in the morning. It is not golden hour. The lighting is very intense. The shadows on the buildings are very intense. So these are not just like your ideal light conditions. You know, oftentimes you see preset ads or you buy a preset and they were shot in beautiful lighting, so the preset obviously looks good. I didn't develop this preset for that reason. I developed this preset to look good when the lighting sucks. And of course, lighting is subjective. I love harsh midday light. That's me. Today I'll be shooting with the Leica M10-R with the 50 Summilux. This is version 2 of the Summilux, a newer one. I've been shooting it all over Rome the past week. It's been an incredible lens for street photography and just for, I mean, obviously anywhere. It's an incredible lens. 50 on these cobblestone streets and these small alleys is a little tight, but we're gonna make it work. Oh, here's a really interesting car coming. Look at this thing. It's like a little electric smart car. So we're gonna go for a little walk now. We're going to take some photos and then we're gonna take a look at Jupiter. So we're gonna go for a little walk today just through these beautiful cobblestone streets, and we're gonna head towards the metro station. It's about a mile away. I've got a little time to shoot some street while we walk, and then when we get back to my house here in Rome, we're gonna dive into the Jupiter pack and see how these photos were right out of the camera, and then what they look like with Jupiter RGB and Jupiter Mono and the various modifiers that are on them. trying to be really intentional and shoot in like either really harsh, intense light into the sun, anything with a hard line or shadow, or even just like a fully shadowed area so that you can kind of see how this preset performs. Oop, I'm in the dark now, my goodness. So you can kind of see how this preset performs even in like the worst conditions. One thing I will say about the experience I'm having right now is that I'm out here on a Sunday morning. I specifically chose this morning so it would not be too crowded and insane. I mean, I've been out here other days this week and there are so many people, and I'm kind of a bit of an introvert. Like I'm like 50-50 introvert extrovert. So I don't want to be noticed. I definitely don't want people to see me walking around with a camera, making YouTube videos. So I chose a Sunday morning. So if you're thinking this is a good representation of every day in Rome, it really isn't. This is Sunday morning in Rome with not a lot of people out. Okay, one thing that I said we were doing today was shooting on the 50 Summilux version 2. That is true, but now that I've shot some images on that, I'm going to switch to the 35 Voigtlander Ultron VM2. I don't know why they make these long names for lenses. Just to get some wider shots as I continue my walks. I'm gonna switch out lenses now and then we will continue our walk. One of the things I wanted to try to avoid on this channel was, like, I'm not here to do like tourism videos and show you the Colosseum and the Roman Forum. And I mean, maybe later on I might stop by those places in another video, but you can find that stuff all day long on other people's channels. I just wanted to do like real life. If you're staying here for a little while, you're not going to all the tourist locations over and over. If you're looking for how photos look at the Colosseum or at the Circus Maximus and all that, not gonna find it here. We're just walking the streets, doing real life stuff, keeping it real. So one of the things that I had mentioned was that the Jupiter pack is meant to be kind of an everyday look, whether it's Jupiter RGB or Jupiter Mono. It's meant to be an everyday look that works well for street, works well for travel, works well for your family, or even for portraits. And there is a modifier that's super critical for portraits though. And I'm gonna show you how that works by taking a picture of my friend Jen. She's out here with me today as we've been doing some product shoots for a few different companies and some client work. Jen is gonna sit on these steps right here that you're gonna see in just a minute, and I'm gonna take a portrait of her. Now she is not gonna be in harsh light just because there is no light in this area. This is a nice shaded area, but I'm gonna try to get a great portrait of her, and then we're gonna take a look at it and I'll show you how Jupiter RGB specifically works for skin tones, as well as Jupiter Mono, because there are modifiers to make your skin tones work really well with the Jupiter pack. And I just want to add that the skin tone modifiers really came at the request of the beta testers. And so if you have any interest in beta testing future presets from verygoodpresets.com, be sure to let me know. You can do that by signing up for the mailing list at Very Good Presets, because that is exactly how I will reach out when there's something new on the horizon that I want to get beta tested. So to my beta testers, I want to say thank you. And now let's get some pictures of Jen. I wish you could see how janky this is. Here we go. Okay guys, so before I walk out of this neighborhood, fun fact, This neighborhood is where my grandmother is from, so it's been pretty cool. I actually started the morning and started this video right by her old house. My grandmother was a post-World War II immigrant, and it's really cool to be able to visit her house. I had breakfast at the little bakery, coffee shop, bar right below her house, which was awesome. Now I'm gonna head to the metro, head home, and we're gonna take a look at the photos I took and see what the Jupiter pack looks like with one click and a few modifiers. Let's go home. Okay, so we're back at my cousin's house. This is where we'll be staying for the month. And so if I do a couple of videos, I may be out here on this balcony. I might be in his living room, somewhere else, who knows. Rome is incredibly loud. I'm trying to do voice isolation and EQ and everything I can to get the sounds all around me out of this video. But if they are there, apologies. This is not my controlled space like I have at my home. Thank you for going ahead and extending some grace for potentially bad audio. Of course, I don't know because I'm not actually listening while I record this, but I did listen a little bit before. I'm gonna do my best, everybody, I promise. All right, so let's talk about the Jupiter pack. So earlier today, we went on a walk through the city center of Rome and through a couple of neighborhoods, and I took several photos in pretty harsh lighting, or honestly, like, I keep saying harsh lighting or, you know, not the best lighting, but I love this lighting, and so you might too. I would love to hear from you in a comment below if you enjoy shooting in all types of light and not just a golden hour chaser. So what I've done here is I've pulled in 9 photos into Lightroom, and we are gonna look at Jupiter RGB and Jupiter Mono, and I'm gonna go through all 9 and just kind of pick one or the other, and then we're gonna talk about the portrait session I did, show a portrait, and then talk about skin tones and how Jupiter works on skin tone. So let's go ahead and jump in. So these are the 9 photos that I selected for this demo. We're gonna start with this one here. I'm gonna go ahead and open up my Lightroom presets, and we see Jupiter RGB right here. I'm gonna go ahead and click it. And already you can see how the photo starts to look a lot more cinematic. Now remember, this is an everyday preset, meaning that you could use this on just about anything on any system, and it's not like overly color graded to the point where it's so stylized you can't just use it in your everyday life. So I'm gonna tell you the things I would do to this. The first thing I would do is I would throw on more contrast, which is HC, it's high contrast. I'm gonna heat it up a little bit, push it just a touch as well, and then we're gonna throw a little crop on here just to make it a little nicer, a little neater. And there we go. Picture number 1 in just a few clicks. Let's move to number 2. All right, Jupiter RGB. Now you'll notice this is a little cooler, and Jupiter RGB is on the cooler side, which is why I added a heat modifier. So I'm gonna put that on here. Gonna increase the contrast. I'm gonna push it, and kind of similar to the last one, I might even push it a little more since there's a nice little flare on the Summilux lens here. I might even give a little more to the contrast too. I built in the contrast on this preset into the curve and not so much into the slider. And I did that so that you could easily increase contrast if you wanted to. So you've got a lot of room to add more contrast when you want. Okay, for this next photo, we're gonna use Jupiter Mono, and there's a specific reason for that. This photo is a little underexposed, so we're gonna push it pretty hard. But when we look at Jupiter Mono, let's go ahead and put it on. You can also see that I accidentally had some dust on my sensor on the back of the lens, one or the other. Probably the back of the lens, because it's hard to put dust on the M10R because of the closed shutter. Okay, so we've put on Jupiter Mono. We're gonna push it. I'm actually gonna push it a little further. We're gonna keep the contrast where it is, but you'll notice these modifiers called Skyfall. I made these to emulate what it would look like if you used a red filter over your lens, if you were shooting black and white film or a black and white sensor. So Skyfall, kind of 3 levels of it, 1, 2, and 3. And what happens when you use a red filter is that you add more contrast. When there's blues, the blues get darkened. And so as you use a red filter, you see like the sky gets a lot darker. And so I built out these Skyfall motorcycles. My God, they are so loud. I built out these Skyfall modifiers to just bring the sky tones down so you can get closer to that darker, like you're using a red filter. And it's definitely not perfect because it's not a red filter and it's not black and white film, but you get the idea of kind of what I was going for here. I'm gonna use Skyfall 2, and I like it. I think it looks nice. For this one though, I would crop it probably vertical. Throw that on there, maybe straighten it up a little bit. Let's not show the window, just get it like that. And if it was me, they're so loud. Linear gradient, maybe decrease the contrast a little more, brighten it up a little more, pull them shadows down. Yeah, it looks pretty good. This is a scene with some intense light at the top and dark shadows at the bottom. Let's use RGB. I love this look, but because the shadows are gonna be cool always with this, I'm gonna put some heat on it because everything in the Mediterranean is very warm tones anyway, so it works really well using heat as our modifier. I'm gonna push it, and I love this. I think it looks perfect. I found this old car, as you saw in the video. I think this old car is amazing. It was half lit, half dark. Let's throw Jupiter RGB on it. One click and done. I don't have anything else I would do to this. I think it looks awesome. Here's an interior of that car. Let's put on Jupiter Mono. Let's go high contrast. No, let's not push it either. Let's keep it kind of dark. And look at that. I just think that looks beautiful. I love finding old bicycles in this city. So here we go. Nice bicycle. And of course, graffiti. Not a fan of graffiti. Anywhere I go, doesn't matter. Don't love graffiti. Though I do appreciate Banksy. He does good stuff. Yeah, RGB is the winner for this. High contrast. We don't need heat on this one. You can push it a little bit. I love this look. Here is this balcony that I thought was just really beautiful. You've got that harsh morning light on the balcony. You've got shadows all around it. Let's hit it with RGB. And honestly, one click, and for me, one click and done. Maybe heat. No, I don't think I'd put heat on this one. I like it. Here's this couple that was walking down the street. Let's put on Jupiter Mono. Let's make it high contrast. Let's pull it. Maybe bring those blues down a little bit. For this one, I definitely would crop in a little as well. And a photo like this, I would also come in and pull the vignette pretty hard, but not make it so round, and feather the heck out of it, just to bring your image, because the middle is so bright. So by putting that vignette on like this, it just pulls everything in without making it look like a vignette. So this would be our Jupiter gallery. It's really consistent, even color and black and white. It has a similar vibe, and I think they work really well together if you're trying to curate a series of images, especially in street photography. Okay, let's head over to the portrait that I did of Jen, and let's take a look at how Jupiter RGB and Jupiter Mono work when it comes to skin tones and portraits. So I love this shot, but I wish I would have composed it just a touch lower. For that reason, I'm going to crop. All right, let's go ahead and hit it with Jupiter RGB. And I just want you to see once more the difference between these two. Here's right out of the camera, and there's Jupiter RGB on it. It's very cinematic. But here's where you can mess it up. If I throw heat on there, which I think looks really good for the scene, her skin has gotten a touch too orange for my liking. Now Jen is tan, she's a little darker, but she's not orange, right? And I have found that skin tones are like the #1 thing that hurts a preset, because you get this preset from whatever website, you throw it on, you're thinking I'm gonna click this and boom, done, and it'll look great. And then you put it on a portrait and the skin tones are off. So what I did was, in certain scenarios, like if you're shooting somebody that has a little bit more of a darker skin, or you're shooting in certain lighting conditions, the RGB preset can overemphasize the orange on their skin. So I've got a skin fix, which if you recall, my portrait preset, I did the same thing. I created a golden hour modifier so that you could fix skin tones if the portrait skin tones were off. Same thing here. It's a little more subtle because it doesn't need to go as far. So we're gonna hit skin fix. And already we've brought her skin tones back to a more natural look. So let's do that again. I'm gonna reset that modification. I'm gonna hit the heat. I just want you to watch as I hover over skin fix. And again, it's subtle, but subtle makes a difference. Subtle is often the difference between good and great. So subtle is important. So this is RGB with heat and the skin fix. And I think it looks incredible. Like I love this portrait and I love the tones of this photo. Let's take another one with a little bit of a bigger scene and let's hit it with Jupiter Mono. Now for black and white, this is just awesome. It's a little contrasty, but that's okay. I think we can fix that just by pushing it a little bit. Already that looks a little better. Now I've got some skin tone modifiers for black and white as well. And here's why. In black and white photography, you can use yellow and orange filters to smooth the colors and tones of skin. For instance, if you were to use an orange filter, you would get a little bit of a flatter skin tone on most skin types. And if you use yellow, same thing. You can look up all day long YouTube videos on what orange and yellow filters do to skin tones. What I did was I created 2 skin tone modifiers to do something similar. So if you watch this, on this portrait of Jen, you see how when I hover over skin tone, her skin lifts a little bit. The luminance of her skin pops a little more. Now let me do it on the next modifier while this motorcycle passes. If I hit skin tone plus, you'll see it is even more of a modification. When you hit these, what it's doing is it's adding luminance to the orange and yellow tones of skin. And when you add these, you're creating a more flat and pleasing skin tone. So by hitting that, her skin tone goes from my first click, which was this. Remember, I pushed it first, but the skin really lifts off the page now and the portrait just looks phenomenal. Let's do that same thing once more and we'll flip RGB and mono. So I've got this picture of Jen that also composed a little, she's a little too low in the frame. Cropped it, fixed it. Let's start with Jupiter Mono. Let's go ahead and lift her skin tone, maybe not quite 2, but 1. Let's push the entire image. And we'll bump the contrast as well. And I just think that looks incredible. Very happy with that. Here's the before and the after. Let's reset the mods and flip it to RGB. Let's hit it with heat. Let's get the skin fix. I don't know if I would push this one, but maybe so. Maybe we'll push it, but we'll add more contrast. So there we go. RGB, like that. I want the presets that we offer on Very Good Presets to be 1 click and then a few modifiers and not make you have to work so much to get the look you bought. By showing you images, I'm really just showing you what these presets can do. You can envision them on your own. You buy the preset, you download it, you put it on your photos, and then it looks nothing like it. That sucks. I never want that to be our story. So if you pick up this preset, try it with the modifiers, try clicking around. I think you're gonna find that these are very consistent with what I'm showing you here because I'm not overworking the sliders, the curves, the colors to get this look. It's all built in. Okay, as we wrap up here, here's the best part. This YouTube channel, it's been growing. I am incredibly grateful for all of you, and to show that gratitude, because I can't reach out through the lens and give you a hug, I'm gonna give you 50% off, just like I did with Portrait 400. If you watch this video and you've got it this far, or you just read the description below but didn't watch the video, totally fine. But you're getting 50% off of the Jupiter pack if you follow the link and use the code Jupiter50. This is 2 presets with a bunch of modifiers for each, and I just want you to enjoy it, make great photos, put it on your images, and then of course, if you post them, I would love it if you would just hashtag very good presets. Okay, we're not gonna end today with me signing off. We're gonna end with me showing you several more images that I've done just over the last week using Jupiter RGB and Jupiter Mono and literally just clicking the modifiers. These are not photos that I've sit here and overworked, and I hope you can see that just by me showing you what I've done right here. When you look at this series of photos that's coming up in just a moment, you'll see they are very consistent here. They were not tweaked over like the curve and all these things. They're just the preset and the modifiers. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you have a wonderful day, night, morning, wherever you are in the world and whatever time it is. I hope it's an incredible time for you. Thanks for watching, and let's roll this series.